So recently, I've been kind of thinking about how so many things have changed about like my emotional state and what I used to care about um, from like when I started doing this, when I started making these recordings to now. Um, I remember it used to be like absolutely horrifying and just emotionally destructive for me when I would think about how, um, you know, this is because of the way I was born. Um, I wouldn't be able to talk to people. I wouldn't be able to communicate and get connections and get a job and stuff the same way other people can, which is, and it's pretty bad for me, so I really can't do it at all. But to me, like the concept that because of the way I was born, like even if I put all the effort to something that I possibly could, it wouldn't matter. And it's just because of the way my mind works. And so I saw it was like so unfair and terrible that, people who barely try to get friends at all, who barely try when they're getting a job, who are able to get better jobs, are able to have better friends, are able to actually be able to um, live a fulfilling life and be able to do, so many different things, so many different skills, be able to have, friends, connections without even needing to try, just because it comes to them naturally. And, as someone who has tried so fucking hard but can't get anything out of it, it's kind of depressing because, it's not that I don't put in the effort, I put in like way more effort than most people, but it doesn't matter because it just comes down to the way you're born, whether or not you have the inherent talent to do it. And of course, when I'm talking about inherent talent, I'm just talking about the ability to communicate, the ability to do basic tasks and to carry out a job or whatever. And to me, that showed how twisted reality was. That someone who didn't try at something at all, but was born the right way, could have everything given to them, and have everything, like just have the best stuff in the world without putting any effort into it. And even if I tried, my very best, and I put in, hours and hours and effort and stress and just blood and tears into anything I could fucking do, it wouldn't fucking matter because I was born the wrong way. And fundamentally, my brain doesn't work correctly. And so, it's the fact that everyone would take it for granted that they could have all these wonderful things without even really trying. And when I would try, it just seems like so fucking funny to me that, that people, for getting a job for a lot of people is a very mundane thing, and they just do it on a weekend and they don't even think about it, and they're terrible and they're horrible people, but because of the fact that they're charismatic and they just are normal people, they're born the right way, they're able to actually keep it and have a totally fine life. But like I've stressed out about this, about getting a job or whatever for so fucking long. I've literally gone through so much stress, so much mental turmoil, and I've put in a lot of effort into trying to improve myself. And of course, I feel like it's completely amounted to nothing, and I'm still going to be useless in comparison. And many things like that, many things where I used to think that society was so twisted and messed up because of how things would work, because of the fact that, you could be the most popular person, you could have everything, even if you don't put effort into it, just because you're born the right way. It's not even about society, really, it's just about autism and not being autistic. So, if you're not autistic, getting friends, you just take it for granted that that's easy to do, that you just talk to people and you don't have to go through the fucking anxiety fucking meltdown every time. You don't have to go through hours of stress and mental fucking turmoil to try to comprehend how to do it. You don't have to like fucking go through that a billion fucking times and go through the pain of failing every time to get anywhere. No, it just comes naturally and you don't think about it. And all these people take it for granted. They just take it for granted that they can have a life, they can make connections, they can have a skill, and it just comes naturally to them. And and they're able to, be able to do this, be able to live a life without it being a mental nightmare. And they take that for granted. They take it for granted that it's just so easy. But I don't know. And I used to be really upset about the fact that people could get like so much sympathy and so much support from people by just like making up an emotional story and saying things in an emotional way, even if their situation isn't even that bad. So, if you're like you're a terrible person and you have everything given to you and really, you're pretty fucking spoiled, it doesn't matter because as long as you say things in an emotional way, people will love you and people will support you. People will sympathize with all the people with other problems on the internet, talking about it in a way that's emotional, in a way that, appeals to people's sense of empathy and everything, and is constructed in a way where it actually creates empathy. While even if my situation is like fundamentally just impossible to deal with, it doesn't matter because I can't word it in an emotional way, because I'm not good at constructing sentences and because I'm not good at appealing to neurotypical sensibilities about how to, interpret, how to implicate emotions and sympathy from people. It doesn't matter because I'm not very good at expressing my emotions and my feelings, thoughts. And so, even if there are terrible people, as long as they're able to talk about things that are appealing to neurotypical sensibilities, that people normally have, they'll get so much support, they'll get so much sympathy, and they'll be loved. But if I could not talk about this in a coherent way, I could not actually express my emotions, and I can't appeal to things that neurotypicals would find to be normal. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is that it's not just that I can't express what I'm actually going through, which is part of it. I can't really express the reality I'm in fully. It's kind of impossible for me, but it's also part of another part of it is the fact that, to me, sometimes, or at least before, it used to feel like very arbitrary how neurotypicals sort of gain sympathy and support from each other. I mean, the way you get sympathy, the way you get support is you just appeal to people's emotions. You just say things in a way that is seen as emotionally appealing, I guess. I don't really know. But basically, you just have to say things in a normal, neurotypical way, and people want to support you because you have the natural, normal way of talking, and so people they'll be more likely to sympathize with you, right? They're more likely to sympathize with a attractive person talking about their emotional backstory than they're more likely to sympathize with some disabled defect who can't even really talk well. because of the fact that the attractive person is able to appeal to their emotions and participate in that neurotypical circle jerk of sympathy and empathy, which is always what I interpreted it as. It's just as a fucking circle jerk, and how people connect with each other, how people experience emotion, and sympathize with people, or whatever. It's all based on just wording sentences in a nice way, being able to have the natural, normal way of talking and normal way of constructing sentences and emotion in your voice. Just appealing to these arbitrary, aesthetical ways of talking. Like, that's how you get friends. That's how you get success in life. That's how people care about you. It's not about how much you genuinely care or try in anything. It's not about how bad your situation is actually. It's just about whether or not you're born the right way and you're able to appeal to the neurotypical sensibilities of how to talk and how to appeal to emotion. And that's really how you get support. That's how you're loved. And that's how you succeed. It's not based on how much you try. You could be a horrible person, you could not try at all, but you'll get everything in the world because you're born the right way and you're able to talk normally. You're able to participate in this neurotypical social circle jerk of sympathy and empathy, because you can talk the right way, and even if there's someone who tries the hardest in the fucking world, who tries so fucking hard, and even if their situation is so much worse and they need more support, it doesn't matter because they're not attractive. And I mean that in sort of a metaphorical way. I mean that in sort of a way that maybe the way they talk and the way they construct their sentences and appeal to, again, I don't know how to describe it, like just emotional sensibilities of people. It just isn't the right way because I've been born the wrong way. And so it doesn't matter, and it always felt so arbitrary to me, so pointless, and so unfair. And a lot of things like this, I feel like it's so depressing that even if I put more effort than anyone in the world, I wouldn't be able to achieve anything because I'm born the wrong way. And even if my situation was worse, and even if I tried harder to better myself, no one would care about me, and no one would sympathize with me because I couldn't appeal to normal ways of speaking, because I couldn't appeal to normal neurotypical sensibilities, and so no one would care about me. These concepts, I was so upset over them. They kind of made me feel like society was messed up in a way. And I think I always knew that I was like really the only problem, right? Like, not in that I've done anything wrong, but just in that the mental retardation lies with me. But there's a little bit of it where I was upset, and I felt like society was fucked up in a weird way, like an incel or something. But I definitely don't think that anymore, and I don't even really feel emotion about this anymore. And I've just found that so interesting to reflect on, because I used to be like so depressed and like mentally distraught over how unfair it was, and how everybody who doesn't try and everybody who is a terrible person, they're going to get so much more success and so much more love and sympathy than I will, just because I'm not born the right way, and because I don't have an attractive way of speaking. I can't appeal to normal speaking conventions and and everything, and so I'm worthless, and no one will ever care about me, regardless how much effort I put in the things, how much I try. I fucking forgot my train of thought there, but I don't know. I was talking about I just think it was so unfair, but now I don't feel any emotion about it anymore, really. I guess that's just how it is. To me, I've just accepted that I am a mentally retarded defect, and that how society works, it's good. People aren't wrong for not supporting me, because if they did, it would be a waste. You know? And I'm just bitter because of the fact that I haven't been given a chance to participate in society. I'm bitter because I haven't been given a chance to live a normal human life. But at the end of the day, that just lies with me. You know, I'm just a defect. I'm just waiting to die. There's not much more to it than that. And when I say waiting to die, I don't mean I'm suicidal. I mean I'm, in a weird way, I'm just like this dysfunctional, defected animal waiting to have that end, or to have their life end. And since it's not going to end, my life is just kind of pointless. Although I guess I'm still going to be living it and everything. I don't know. I kind of interpret my life as if like I was a wounded animal, and I couldn't really move, you know, like if my legs were broken. I couldn't join back up with the pack or anything. I couldn't, you know, do anything you're supposed to do. So I would just be, my life would be pointless at that point. There's nothing really for me to do except just to think about how unfair and unfortunate it is until I die. And I feel like that's kind of my life. I'm just a mentally retarded defect. And the fact that society doesn't accept me, like that's necessary. Because I'm dysfunctional, and it would be worthless to try to accept me. It would never work. You know, getting past these problems, they would still exist. You know, because people say like, oh, you know, people can reach out, people can support you. It's like it doesn't matter. You know, even if people were wanting to sympathize with me, and even if people were like extending out support, at the end of the day, I would never be able to communicate back to them. I would never be able to reciprocate that. Not because I didn't want to, not because I don't try to be a good person, but because of the fact that I'm too mentally retarded to really be able to communicate or build connections. So, you know, if people try to build connections with me or anything, it's pointless because I won't be able to build a connection back, which makes the whole thing just worthless. And it makes it like worthless to me too. Like even if I was selfish, I just wanted a friend, and I wanted them to put up with me. I wanted them to tolerate me. Like let's say that was true, that they would tolerate me. I don't think it would be fulfilling for even me, because of the fact that I wouldn't be able to put quality input into the relationship. So it would just be worthless, and it would be painful, and because everything I would say would be retarded. At the end of the day, it's not society's fault. The problem here lies with no one else except me, and it's not because of something wrong I've done. It's just because of the fact that I'm retarded, I'm dysfunctional, and I am too dysfunctional to function anywhere in society. Because even if something's extended out to me, I cannot reciprocate it. I cannot function or communicate or really be able to carry out a skill that requires like human cognition. Because in so many fundamental ways, I'm just disabled, and it's impossible to really explain fully, but it really feels like I can't do anything. I think it's been a little while since I've made one of these recordings, maybe like 6 months, and you know, obviously my emotions about this have changed. I don't really feel anything anymore while thinking about my situation. I don't feel this Lovecraftian big fucking dread and pain and upsetness over it anymore. I don't really feel anything. It's like, yeah, I've kind of accepted and gotten to the routine of living as a dysfunctional subhuman with nothing. It's just become mundane to me. and just reflecting on how I've gone through that emotional cycle, how much times I've gone through the pain of understanding that I'm not going to have anything and no one's ever going to care about me regardless of what I do and regardless of you know, how much more I try. That's how much I've gone through that. It's exhausting. It really is. That's honestly the only thing that's terrifying to me now. It's just reflecting back on all the pain and all the painful fucking cycles I've gone through, where I've recognized that I'm dysfunctional, and I try to cope with that. I try to find ways to still live in some particular way that would be possible. You know, I try to figure out some skill that I can barely do, you know, some connection that I can barely have survive. And going through that painful cycle so many fucking times where I figure out that it's all fucking impossible and that I'm just completely retarded and subhuman. And then still going through it because god fucking damn it, dude, I may be subhuman, but I'm still human, you know? Like I want these things that I want to have something. And so the idea that I can't and that's entirely impossible for me, of course I'm not going to accept that. If I accepted that, I would go insane, because that's fucking crazy. That I wouldn't be able to contribute anything to a group, that I wouldn't be able to have a single connection, that I wouldn't be able to have a single skill or something that could result in any sort of fulfillment for me. I mean, that's just crazy. So of course I've always rejected that, and I've always tried anyway to do these things and try to build connections. I've always failed. And I keep going through the fucking cycle. And it used to be an emotional roller coaster, you know? It used to be so upsetting, and I had that hope, and then I was fucking destroyed. But now it's so mundane, and I'm just bitter, and it's kind of depressing. I was watching back one of my old recordings, and I was talking about how, you know, I was saying it in kind of an edgy way, but I was talking about how my life is like a contradiction, you know, like I have these human needs. I want to have connections. I want to be able to get a job. I want to be able to contribute to society. I want to be able to, like, you know, create something or have a skill, or play one of these games, or have a hobby, or anything, you know, anything I come across that normal humans would be able to easily do. I want to do it as well. And despite the fact that obviously exists for me, I am like so fundamentally mentally retarded and autistic that I cannot achieve any of it, and everything I do is just like fundamentally broken and embarrassing and just retarded. Like every way I construct a sentence, every way I have a conversation is so just unbelievably retarded that it's entirely dysfunctional, and I cannot communicate with other people in a productive way, in a way that builds connections or anything like that. And so, you know, if you think that if I was that mentally retarded, I wouldn't care anymore, right? People that are like low functioning autistic, usually they don't care about having friends. They don't care about getting a job. They don't care about getting a skill or contributing something. They just don't give a fuck. But like I do, and yet I feel like I'm as bad as them, basically. Like I can't do any of it, and despite that I want it. I want, you know, normal societal things. I desperately want to be a normal, neurotypical person, but I am so fundamentally far from that. You know, like imagine you take a normal, neurotypical human of all the aspirations of being a normal, neurotypical human, right? And you know, they have a degree, they have a education, they're gonna start a family, whatever, and then just make that person, just make it so it's impossible for them to do any of that. Make it so it's impossible, again, it's not just making it impossible for them to get a family or to get a career, but make it impossible for them to be like a normal human in any way, to be able to communicate with people, to be able to master a skill or a hobby or any kind of human cognition that could contribute to something or anything like that. Just take that all away when they had all those aspirations before, and imagine what that's like. I mean, it's what I'm going through. It's just everything. That's my entire life. I wasn't even given a chance. It's just how I'm born. And that's the thing, right? Like, when I'm saying like take away things in life, I don't just mean one thing or the other. I don't mean that like autism or my mental retardation specifically just makes like a few things impossible. Like, oh, I guess I won't be able to have this type of job. Oh, I guess I won't be able to this type of long-term relationship. Because, there are a lot of people that are very disabled. But I want to communicate the idea that even for those people, it's not as much of a fundamental thing for them. Like, they can still have particular things they're good at. They can still have things that are normal for them, or just they can have something like anything at all. So if you take like a blind person or like a crippled person, they could still talk to people. They could still think correctly, and they could still figure out problems in their head and be able to play a game, or be able to do a hobby, or be able to master a skill, or be able to do kind of some intellectual exercise in their brain. They'll be able to do some stuff with their brains. They could talk. There's still a fundamentally human reality that those people can live, even if they can't physically move around. They won't be able to physically get a job. What I want to make clear is that it isn't just like some arbitrary restriction like that, where okay, at least you're still fundamentally human, right? In a billion different ways. It's like, no, and in a way it's like I'm not fundamentally human anymore. You want to understand like what this is like, just think about like how a chimpanzee is not fundamentally human, and like how a chimpanzee would not be able to fundamentally get anywhere near any sort of human accomplishment, because their cognition is so fucking different than normal people. And that's what I feel like, in a way. Like, I know that's weird, but what I'm trying to say here is like my brain is so fundamentally different that I cannot do any of the normal human cognition. I cannot achieve any of the normal human societal goals in a very fundamental way. Not just like one physical disability, but an all-encompassing mental disability that changes my fundamental way of thinking. That makes it so my cognition is fucked. That makes it so my perception is fucked. So everything in my mind is fucked. And because you experience reality through your mind, I mean, it's just everything in society that you could do, it's all broken and impossible for me on a very fundamental level. So, I can't really do schoolwork very well. I can't really do intellectual stuff very well. I can't do technical skills like math or programming or like engineering. I can't do creative things like drawing or making music. I can't do social things, talking to people, or communicating an idea, or like debating or making a friend, making a connection. I can't do any of that. I'm not very good at coming up with examples, but there are infinite examples, because every part of my reality is broken. Every part of my reality is kind of part of this contradiction, where I want to have normal human cognition in a way. Like, I just, not even that I want a job specifically, but that I want to be able to exist as an intelligent human and be able to accomplish normal things that could present themselves in everyday life. And I fundamentally cannot do that, because I'm fundamentally disabled mentally and cannot figure those things out in a way that would actually end up in fulfilling achievement. So, I don't know. I've been kind of reflecting on a lot of my past recently. Been kind of nostalgic for my past, and I've said this before. Nostalgia for me is always very bittersweet a lot of the time, and it's not just bittersweet because I think for a lot of people it's that. I think it's especially bitter because of the fact that a lot of the things I would do as a kid, a lot of the hobbies and things, even stuff I would do for fun as a kid, I would always be terrible at it, and I would always be fundamentally incapable to find my place anywhere. And I'd always be still so hopeful, and that's what's happy about it. That's what's sweet about the bittersweet, is that I'd be hopeful as a kid. I would always be trying different things. But of course, what's bitter is I would fail at one of those things. I wouldn't know it back then, but it's because I was fundamentally retarded, and I didn't have the cognition to comprehend any of that. But a reason I go on nostalgia trips a lot is because it reminds me of the time when I wasn't fully aware of my reality. I wasn't fully self-aware that everything was impossible for me, and so it reminds me of a time where I had hope. I thought I was a normal human being. It reminds me of the emotion of feeling that I was safe. I was safe in society, and that I could be a normal human being, and I could achieve things. I could pursue my goals, and I could succeed at something. And it reminds me of that emotion, because as a kid I did think that. I had that hope. Of course, I still try stuff even now. I mean, recently I've been trying to program and everything, and I've actually found it kind of interesting. Like, I feel like I have brain damage, which I guess you could describe autism as brain damage, maybe. But I actually feel like maybe I don't know. I don't want to say anything, but like I have like a learning disability or something. Like I'm not very good at math. I can't really comprehend math in my head and figure out like geometry and stuff just by myself, which is what you have to do if you're making like a video game or something, programming. And I mean, I've been able to write code, but I feel like I can't read it back. Like I can't really comprehend what is on the screen and be able to actually read it, because my brain just shuts off, and I can't perceive my own code, and I can't even perceive like the idea of what I'm even doing in like a broader way. I don't know. It's just all a train of thought thing I have to follow for anything to happen. But I'm not very good at actually being able to organize things in an expandable way that makes sense, and that's, that would be versatile and smart. Like, I'm not very good at that. And I'm just fundamentally retarded when it comes to it. So, I've gotten hope that I could maybe do this one project, but I don't think that I could program. Definitely not as a job. Imagine actually trying to be able to, I don't know why I'm asking this like to anybody else myself. I really only know how bad I am at programming. I really only know how just like fucking disabled I am when it comes to writing code and comprehending math or whatever. But trying to work in an environment, a workplace environment, where people could be watching you as I'm trying to write code quickly. It just won't work, because sometimes I just sit there for 10 minutes because I'm so mentally disabled and I can't comprehend basic technicalities on the screen. I don't know. And yeah, so that I still try things and they're unsuccessful. I mean, of course I'm still going to be trying things, right? Because like I've said, how could I just come to accept that my life is pointless and I can't do anything? If that's the case, well, shit, like, what the fuck do I have to live for? So if I'm going to live, then I need to keep being delusional. I need to keep deluding myself. in these things. I have to keep going through the cycle of having hope, trying things. Except I don't even really have hope anymore. It's not even really that the type of hope that I had as a kid, and even when I was like 14. It's it's just, I don't know. I'm basically just doing it because it's something to do, and it's kind of like fun in a way. Trying to complete a project and do something. I don't know. I've always wondered if I'm like alone in this, if there are like other people that are like me and feel like they're going through the same thing. And of course, what I mean by that is I don't just mean like other people who feel like they have mental disabilities that makes life harder, but this fundamental experience that I have of this overarching impossibility and dysfunctionality to every part of my cognition and everything I could ever want to do in life. Like, I wonder if other people have that same type of fundamental dread about, like, their abilities as a human being. Because if you just have one particular disability or one particular weakness even, that's not at all what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like a fundamental mental retardation, and then being self-aware of that, right? I wonder if there are any other people that have that same type of thing. Because most of the people with high-functioning autism I've seen aren't very self-aware about it. They don't really, either that or they're actually a lot less retarded than I am, right? So all the people with high-functioning autism I've seen either are able to have success in life, are actually able to fundamentally be good at a lot of things, and not have it be this like infinite, overarching, dysfunctional nightmare. It's actually like containable, right? They have skills they're good at and skills they're not good at. It's completely different than my situation. And so they're like that, and I can't relate to that because that's basically normal. Or if they are more like me, maybe, and I can't, of course, know that for sure, but they maybe seem like they have it kind of bad, like me. They're not self-aware about it. They think that it's fine and that it is just a contained problem, and they don't seem too upset about it. They don't seem to have the overarching dread of recognizing that you won't be able to really do anything or be able to commit any of the goals you have in mind. So I've not really met a single another person or even seen another person online express the type of thing that I'm going through, express the type of reality that I'm describing here, where it's like a contradiction in your mental state, where fundamentally what you obviously need as a human, what you would normally pursue in everyday life, whether it be just being able to do a skill, being able to do a hobby, or beat a game, or play a game, or or be able to get a job or talk to somebody, anything you would naturally find yourself wanting to do that would take cognitive human ability, finding that to be wanting to be able to do that, but then finding that to be impossible in so many fundamentally just overarching ways. And I just haven't found anybody that's expressed an idea like that. So I have this paranoid idea that I'm the only person in the world that has this. And it does make me like paranoid. It makes me like, what the fuck? Is my reality like a sadistic joke? I don't know. Because I do feel like this is just the worst thing. And And I do want to make it clear that I'm not trying to say that I exist in the worst like circumstances, because I mean, in a way, like I'm not actually that depressed. I right now, even I mean, especially before, but even right now, I mean, I'm starting to get a little bit conflicted about some stuff going forward in life, because I'm getting older. But right now, I don't actually feel that miserable, and so I know there are a lot more people that are more miserable than me and everything. So I guess it's wrong to say that, because and say that I'm in a worse situation, because in reality, like I said, it is all still relative. If you are more intelligent, you're more capable of things, what you want is going to be more sophisticated, and you won't be able to achieve it as much then. But I still feel like there's this weird contradiction where I feel like I have sophisticated needs, but I'm like disabled in every way, and so I can't get any of it. And there's a lot of people that could be very disabled in certain places, but like they still have a fundamentally human mind, and so they're able to still live as a human somewhat, which is comforting, and you can have something with that, right? But I don't know. So it's not like I exist in a worse situation. I'm sad. Again, I'm not even that miserable. It's just like I don't know anybody with the same type of thing that I have. I mean, thinking back to that idea of the things that used to really bug me when I was younger. I remember I was also like, I was really obsessed with the fact that I was like mentally retarded in a way you might normally associate with autistic people, where you're like really immature. And so I was like kind of terrified by the idea that I was mentally immature, and that I grew out of things too slowly, and that I was like a mental retard in the same way that like bronies or whatever are mental retards, where they don't grow out of things, and they're like mental children. I was kind of obsessed with the idea that I was like that, and that terrified me, and it made me fucking miserable. And so I kind of hated myself over anything I would do, and I'd be paranoid about it, thinking like, oh, am I being autistic? Am I being a normal human? Am I being a normal human 15-year-old or whatever, or 14-year-old? Probably happened a lot more when I was like 13 and 14, actually. And I don't know, because I didn't really know what it meant to be a normal human being. I kind of did. I don't know. It's weird, complicated, but I would go on like places like Kiwi Farms and think that, wow, this is so depressing that there are like mental retards on here that these soulless people just dig into. It's like, how can you make fun of somebody for something they can't control? And it's like, wow, it's so depressing. And I don't even know how it's relevant. I'm thinking of that because it's also kind of relevant to the emotion I experienced back then, where I saw myself as very much similar to other autistic people. I thought, maybe I'm as retarded as people like Chris Chan, and everything. And that's very terrifying. Okay, I'm starting to fall apart, and I'm starting to not recognize what I'm even talking about anymore. Because when I would look at other like autistic people like Chris Chan, or places that would make fun of autistic people, it would terrify me a lot. like that would make me very depressed, because I was like, how can they make fun of me again, like that concept, which is exactly relevant to this idea, so I don't know why I'm bringing it up. But yeah, I don't know. Because I wanted to be cool, I wanted to be normal and like a normal person, normal neurotypical guy, and the idea that I'm retarded and immature in the way someone like Christian is was very scary to me. And I recognize that maybe in some ways I'm not as bad as Christian, but I am still very retarded and everything. Yeah, that was a very sad concept to me. That I was retarded and that I was immature. I grew out of things too slowly, and all that stuff. Now, I really don't care too much. Like, I don't give a fuck, like, I play retarded video games. I play, like, fucking retard child games sometimes, I guess. I don't know. It doesn't really... I don't really feel anything about it anymore, I guess. But yeah, there's a lot of emotional turmoil then. And it makes sense, because I don't know why you'd want to be happy being the mental retard. I remember wording it like that. You think I'm happy to be the mental retard, just like all these other crazy autistic people? Like I said, I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be normal. I wanted to be that people. I'd sometimes make fun of these people, and I'd want to think that, I was neurotypical, and these people weren't normal, but I was, and I was cool. I was fine. I was everything. But like, the idea that I was autistic, that I was retarded, and I was a part of that same group of autistic people that people would make fun of online. It's like, man, and I'm mentally retarded, I'm mentally delayed in the same way. It's just that really depressed me, and it's really scary to me. I've stopped caring, and I actually go on places like Kiwi Farms a lot now, and I enjoy reading about like other retarded people and thinking like, I'm not above these people, I'm just like these people, but it's still interesting to see what other retards are doing. Just a combined struggle of all these different things, trying to like go in denial about all these different things. Like, I'm like everybody else. I can get a job, I can get a girlfriend, I can get friends, I can get a normal life, and I can be seen as a normal, cool person. And that was very important to me. And my standards were so much higher back then, and my standards just slowly be broken down. It became very obvious very quick. For example, I wouldn't be able to get into a romantic relationship. I wouldn't be able to get a very like educated job or whatever. I would live a pretty weird life, but standards kept getting broken down more and more, till I realized wow, I can't do anything. I probably won't even be able to get a job. And I'm not I really don't have high standards. You don't need to though, because I just want to be a human, and I can't be that. I can't be a fucking human. That's what it really feels like.